Good afternoon, everybody, or good morning, or good evening, or good night, depending on what time of day you're watching this. Welcome to the TepFu Lazy Marketing Hour podcast. As ever, I have a fantastic panel and a fantastic guest to help you grow your marketing knowledge. Let me introduce them. But first of all, the topic today is the value of video. We all think about video an awful lot. Some of us do it really well. Some of us don't do it really well. We have on the panel today the fantastic Rachel Knott. Hello, Rachel, our copywriting and content
Hello,
genius.
everybody.
Hello, hello. And joining Rachel on the panel, we have the fantastic Adam Cockrell, our digital Swami. How are you, Adam?
Very well, thank you, Al. Hello, everybody.
Good, good. And of course, joining us today, our special guest is a video maestro, somebody with an incredible heritage in video, somebody who's really spent his life committed to video as a medium, tons of experience. We're going to find out loads more. Please do welcome Paul Furlong. Hello, Paul.
Hello, everybody.
So let's dive straight in. As a marketer, 25 years ago when I started in marketing, no one was doing anything on video because we were all on dial-up then, and video, frankly, sucked on dial-up because it was painful. Now, 25 years in the future, oh my God, video is, of course, everywhere because nothing works more to communicate from person to person than looking at a person's face while they're speaking, much as you're probably doing right now. You may be listening to this on audio, but right now you're dialing into this because the value of video is keen. However, not all of us do it. Why don't people use video as much as they possibly should? Panel, do you use video? How do you use video? And if you don't, what stops you using video and what struggles and challenges do you have? Who wants to go for it? Rachel straight in. Go for it.
Well, so I don't use video as much as I should. And I know this, and it kind of hangs over me. I know that I should be putting my face out there. I know I should be putting videos out there. My business coach tells me all the time that I need to do it, and I have the best intentions to do it, and then I don't do it. And I think the main reason for me, and we did talk about this briefly in the green room before, the main problem that I have, or the issue that I have, is striving for perfection in videos. So I would want my video to be perfectly polished and everything runs seamlessly and no ers and buts. And while I'm pretty good at writing words, saying them I sometimes struggle with a little bit, trip over my words, get myself in a muddle. And then I think, okay, I can write a script for this, but I don't want to read the script because then it'll look like I'm reading a script. So then I have to memorize the script. And all of a sudden it's turned into this epic task that is going to take up so much of my time. I end up going, oh, I can't do that, I don't have time. And it gets pushed, it gets put on the back burner. So, and I think this is probably something that a lot of business owners share, the kind of anxiety about putting themselves out there, about what people judging them, what they're going to think. Even though when you watch somebody else's video that you don't have any of those thoughts and you just go, oh, that's great content, cool. And that's as far as you engage with it. So that's probably, from my perspective, the biggest problem that I have with it. And I'd be interested to hear, especially from Paul, what you think is a great way to overcome that.
Adam.
Yeah, I think fear, comes to mind. I think there's a lot of fear around this for me, with my web design clients. And perfectionism, I suppose you could say it's a form of fear, isn't it? I'm afraid not to get it right. But there's other fears, I think, potentially fueling that as well. So personally, it would be an insecurity of what people might think, and whether or not I give a good impression or a bad impression, or I mess it up. And so you're putting yourself out there. It's a very vulnerable experience, I think, if you're not used to it, if you haven't kind of overcome that fear. And I certainly procrastinate as a result. My marketing strategy includes doing videos on LinkedIn. Ideally, a daily video on LinkedIn. And most of the time I'm doing written posts. And it's partly because I'm worried about what's the content going to be, and how should I structure it. And there's so many reasons why and barriers that I create to overcome that kind of prevent me from actually even getting anything done at all, and that just causes a lot of overwhelm. So doing the video myself, I think, is there's a mental fear-based barrier to entry. I think my clients share some of that. I think we as marketers struggle with that. For us, or I suppose for me, in the generation that I'm from, we're not used to being on video all the time. As the younger generation are, they're much more familiar with it. So I think we need to become more familiar with it, more comfortable with it. So yeah, I mean, that's my perspective, and that's in respect of doing the video myself.
Amazing. Paul, before you dive in, really interesting points. And Rachel, obviously, you have a very public speaking background to one degree or another, and yet everybody struggles with the words bit, and nobody wants to read a script. So we'll definitely be hearing from Paul on that. But also, Adam, I think what was really interesting is you managed to do video for a period of time. And I think part of the challenge is that was at a time where you had more time, I think. And those videos were amazing. And they were very short, sharp, punchy. But even the short, sharp, punchy ones can send you into overwhelm. Is the background right? Have I got crumbs all over my shirt? You know, we start to obsess about the visual. And so how much obsession is right? And also there are different types of videos. You know, if you're a law firm producing corporate videos versus Rachel, Adam, and Al producing videos for LinkedIn, there's a different sort of level, I guess. So, Paul, everything you've heard, talk to us. Tell us your thoughts. Maybe spend 30 seconds just letting everyone know how strong your background is in video. So if they haven't read your bio, they know who they're talking with. And then dive in and tell us your thoughts.
Of course. Well, thanks very much for having me, guys. My name is Paul Furlong. I am the creative director at Opus Media. My background is in film and television, as well as corporate, working with BBC ITV, Channel 4, as well as companies like Subway, Formula One, and many, many SMEs to help them with their video content and their TV content. So there's a lot to unpack there. So let me start with what Rachel said about kind of that fear of getting in front of the camera. And I think there's one word for that to help overcome that fear, and that word is practice. So I'm sure that many people listening have children. I have two children. They are 4 years old and 7 years old. And we're at the stage now with them where they're learning musical instruments, they're learning martial arts. So when they come in from school, they have to practice. Otherwise, they're not going to get any better. If they just show up to their lessons every single week, then they're just going to go from lesson to lesson without any improvement. They're going to learn a new song, but they're not going to get any better. They're going to learn a new martial arts move. They're not going to get any better. And so if we want to be improving our video content and get past that fear, we have to practice. We actually have to get out there and do it. And so Daryl Eves is kind of the guy when it comes to YouTube. He wrote a book called The YouTube Formula. And his recommendation, and I would second it, is go out there and make 100 videos. And by the time you get to your 100th video, you'll look back at the first 10 and they'll be terrible and you won't want to put them out there. But they'll have been out there anyway, and it doesn't matter. And then you'll do your next 100 and you'll look back at the first 100, and even the 100th one, which at the time you thought was amazing, you'll look at and you'll think, oh, that's terrible. I can't believe I actually put that out there. But by the time you're onto the 200th video, it won't matter because you're on to video number 200. So you've just got to get out there and you've just got to do them. And then it won't matter anymore, because as I'm teaching my kids at the moment, their teachers are saying practice makes perfect. Well, there's no such thing as perfect. What practice does is it makes permanent. So you'll get better and you'll get better and you'll get better. So that's, for me, how you're going to overcome the kind of the fear of getting in front of the camera. Now, in terms of getting the words right, in terms of making sure that you've got the kind of the right script. Well, script writing is a great thing to do, to make sure that you've got every word right. Now, I can't do that. I don't have an acting background like you do, Rachel. I'm someone behind the camera, and there's a very good reason why I'm behind the camera, because I'm terrified of getting in front of it, just like the rest of us. But as a business owner, we do use video as well. We do have video content on our website. And this also addresses something that you said, Adam, about trying to get so much content out there all the time. So what I did was we decided that we were going to put 2 days aside to record the next 6 months worth of video content, rather than doing a video a day and it becoming overwhelmed. We put 2 days aside to record 6 months worth of video content. So we planned all of that in advance. It took us maybe a day and a half to plan it all. And rather than writing an entire script where it was word for word, we just did bullet points. And we have the advantage, of course, being a video company. So we went into the studio and we had 2 cameras on us, which meant that we had cut points for every time I made a mistake. So I knew the bullet points that I had to hit. And every time I cocked up, our editor could then cut between the 2 cameras. So we do have advantages, but if you've got within your company, or if you and your partner has a mobile phone each, then you can set 2 phones up, which allows you to get into those cut points. So I think that I've maybe covered the points that were raised at the beginning there, Al.
I think you have.
Can I respond to that?
Yeah, cool.
I'm just really, really like inspired by what you've said there, the culmination of Rachel's points in your response, Paul. It's about practice. And if I shift my perspective from I need to create video content to market myself on LinkedIn, for example, and change it to I'm going to set a schedule of practice so that I can become more comfortable in front of the video, in front of the camera. Then my goal changes, the overwhelm recedes. So I just change my perspective on that. So I'm quite excited now about that, because I'm thinking, okay, now I want to practice this so I overcome fear, rather than I want, the outcome of having good videos on social, and I want inquiries and so on, because that will come from just being visible and doing it, and actually doing it. But the other thing I just wanted to ask you about cut points, if I've understood correctly, if you've got a single camera on you and you mess up, then it's going to be a little bit jarring if you cut that, because you'll see the cut, won't you? You'll see the edit. If you've got 2 cameras, then the viewer just thinks, okay, cool, they're cutting to a different angle, right? So then it's a smooth transition. They don't realize, okay, you're cutting it. And I've seen videos on social, and they're not bad, where they have a single camera and it's very jarred kind of editing. I don't think that's necessarily a bad way to do it. They still come off quite well, but I can see that you can add a level of professionalism if you've got the 2 different cameras.
We do have an advantage these days with 4K cameras and the level that we're getting to with phone cameras, because of the quality of it. You can get away with it now on a single camera by punching in. So starting wide, and then rather than the cut going to a second camera, if you don't have access to a second camera, where you can punch in slightly, so you zoom in. Now that doesn't work on a poor quality camera where it's maybe HD or lower, because everything's broadcast in HD now. But if you've shot in 4K and the better phone cameras now are getting to that stage, then you can stay wide and then cut, kind of punch in, zoom in on that cut, so you get away with it there. Now that is going to come with practice. So because I knew that that's what we were doing, I would hold my position. So when I made the mistake, I would do my best not to move, and then in my mind I would think, right, what was it that I wanted to say, and then without moving, I would then come in with the next line, which would give, obviously, again, an advantage we have is we have an editor, so it would give my editor that time, that kind of split second, to then make that cut. So as you start doing it yourself, where you're delivering, and then probably to begin with, you're then going to make that cut, and you can do it on your phone, or you can do it in very basic editing software. You're going to then go, oh, I should have given myself longer with that cut, or I shouldn't have moved as much. That will then give you that nice feedback loop to the next time that you're sat in front of the camera to go, oh, last time when I was editing, I should have stayed longer in that position. I should have given myself that split second longer. So again, it all comes back to this practice with that feedback loop for you to get better in front of the camera.
I absolutely love the approach there, Paul, because look at the mental shift in Adam's brain from I've got to do video for marketing to let's just get to 100. Let's just have some fun. Let's put some basic practices in. And, to speak to your point, Adam, about the different generations and how video is more prevalent, that wasn't your direct point, but you look at the impact generationally of video as a medium. I mean, most people under 20 have grown up in a TikTok universe, in a Snapchat universe, certainly in an Instagram Reels and Stories universe. And they all seem to be incredibly, not all of them, but much more as a default, and I bet as a percentage, they're much more native with video than we were. I was born on the edge of being what was called then a digital native. I would argue that generation, I don't know what they are now, what are we up to, Generation Z or Generation, God knows what it is now, but the latest generation are video native. They just, it's totally normal for them. Now, I'm 50. I hope I'm retired in 20 years, but you lot are younger than me, and you may well still not be retired in 20 years. And so you're going to be appealing to people who've grown up video native. So your marketing will have to shift if you want to capture that audience, inevitably. And that's why big brands are going there today. That's why big brands are smashing it into TikTok, because if that's their audience, if you're Nike and you want to sell shoes to 15 to 20-year-olds, well, you've got to be visible there, haven't you? It's fascinating. One of the biggest challenges, I think, as well, and I think I can't remember who raised it, but the idea of it was Rachel around scripting. The last thing we want to do is script, and Paul, your point around bullet pointing and then having those cut points, even if you forget about what the edit looks like, if it helps you get the content bit done, I would argue that even if you have a slightly jumpy edit, if it's Al speaking here and then Al speaking here, I think people are more likely to be forgiving if the content is compelling, right? If the content is powerful. So the technical aspect of it, we're all going to obsess and overwhelm on the perfectionism, because in marketing, that's what we do all the time. But even if you just get the content right to start with, and it made me think, Paul, that there's probably, if you haven't got this, there probably should be some kind of 100-day program where, for 10 days, you just get used to being in front of the camera. For the next 10 days, you get used to bullet pointing what you want to say. The next 10 days, you practice the cut points. And what 10 things could you... I just think it's about practice. I had some really interesting comments and questions from others around quality and around not looking unprofessional. What's the panel's thoughts on that? I mean, Adam, your video, everyone's video looked great here today, but if it didn't, we'd all be a bit more self-conscious. Adam and Rachel, how conscious are you of what that end product looks like? Do you see the difference, and do you worry about that when it comes to video?
I think it depends which platform you're on. And I think this is something that Paul said earlier as well. I wouldn't want to put an unprofessional video on my homepage. I would want that to be done by a professional videographer who knows what they're doing and is going to present me in my best light. And I'd like to, spend some time and money on it. For daily content, you kind of don't have that luxury. So I think social media, it's a lot more forgiving, and you can put out lower quality video that you might just record on your phone. I've seen marketers like talking on their phone as they walk down the street just about something that happened that day. And I haven't watched that and gone, well, that was really interesting and useful, and I really value that content, but the video was poor. That just hasn't come into my mind. So I feel like there's a lot more forgiveness. Whereas if I went onto a professional website and they had a rickety old video walking down the street, kind of talking, I would maybe say, well, it doesn't seem very professional. So that's kind of my take on it. And yeah, it'd be interesting to hear what Paul thinks about that, and if there is any leeway around that, or how you can maybe do that, create that professional look yourself.
Before we go to Paul, Adam, yes.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating because there's so much you can do to make your videos look professional. And in the current landscape, I don't think it's necessary. I think there is an argument for video. Some video is better than no video. You know, so from that perspective, if you're doing something, if you're just holding your phone in your hand, talking into it, putting a 30-second, minute-long video out on LinkedIn, arguably that's better than nothing. Unless it's, you are in Tesco's, there's loads of background noise, no one can hear you, then perhaps it's a bit pointless. So I think, if you've got a basic level of kind of, a tidy environment, you've got the basics right, then why shouldn't you? The nice thing is then you have the luxury of leveling up as you go, and there's still a huge realm of leveling up that you can do on a tight budget. I know a guy who's he's an estate agent, and he's started his own business, and over the past few years I've watched him go from just doing very simple social media videos to having a small budget to spend on video production tools like little editing software that can put like a start and finish animation on his videos, and that's all done on an app on his phone, to having a handheld gimbal that allows him to walk down the street filming himself and the camera then being completely stable. So he's adding a level of professionalism there with stabilization tool, and again, it's very inexpensive. Having your logo on the videos. So I think there's lots you can do, and I think it's worth just starting simply and getting into the habit and then leveling up from there. And this is obviously all if you're not yet in the realm of being able to invest in an agency and having high level production. But I agree, Rachel, there are certain contexts in which, having your homepage video on your website, ideally as professionally done as possible. But then there's also the argument of, how do you outrun a lion? You only need to run faster than the person next to you. And that's true across all different types of marketing, media and channels. So, do you need to be the best at video production? For me, out of all of the different web designers out there, probably not. But if I look at the local landscape, is my competitors doing any video on LinkedIn? So just doing some in that respect could push me ahead of the competitors.
Before Paul chimes in, I just want to add to what both Rachel and Adam have said. There's an old rule in marketing that separates hi-fi and lo-fi, and the problem with hi-fi is that when you have high production value assets, whether it's video content, anything, when you have very high production value in the wrong setting, it comes across as salesy. But that's not nearly as bad as when you have low production value assets in what should be a high value setting. So if you had a social media video on the front page of your law firm website, that'd be awful. I mean, it'd be gritty and real. It depends what you're going for. But equally, when you have really finely polished videos on social, they look a bit produced, they look a bit managed. And so there is this balance. But something else occurred to me there. I think over time, because of that didn't always used to be the case. Pre-social media, there was only one type of content, that was high production value. Social media has totally degraded that sort of stack, so that now there is a low production value, what I can do on my phone. And as a result, do you think people are less sensitive to the production values these days? And Paul, that's one to challenge you. Do you think people are, if somebody saw a social media video that was a bit rough and edgy, my first thought would be, oh, well, it's probably because they're out and about, maybe the signal's bad, the tech's bad, but I'm listening for the content because that's what matters. Whereas I think still on the website, it's really important, but I think it's less important to some degree because I'm used to crappy production value on social media. So my standards are being lowered by social. Paul, have a chew on all of that.
Yeah, so I think you're right, Al, and I think the reverse is also true. So I think people now see a drone shot and they think, oh, production value must be amazing. But actually, all the drone shot often does is detract from the value of the rest of the content and the story and the value of what's actually being said. And it substitutes out what can potentially be a really crap video. And they've just substituted in a drone shot because they don't know what else to do because it looks cool.
Right.
So beware the drone shot. It is the rigueur
today, isn't it? The drone shot it's sexy, it's cool, it's drones. It's just drones, isn't it?
And it's very hard to make a drone shot look bad. So beware the drone shot. I'm not saying ignore them. We use drones in a lot of the things that we do. Beware an indoor drone shot, because that's really someone who doesn't know what they're doing. But putting drone shots to one side, I think everything that's been said already is spot on. So I think homepage video should always be higher quality than everywhere else. I think social media videos, you get away with a lot more. I think what people are getting wise to, though, is the audio quality. People will not put up with poor audio. They'll put up with poor video over poor audio. So try and get your audio right. I think it was Adam that said if you're in Tesco with a lot of background noise, that will put people off. People will switch off a lot sooner with that than they would do if suddenly you drop the phone and it's on your shoes, but you're still giving good content with the audio there. And what Adam said about the rest of the video content on your website, using the estate agent as an example, having a video gallery on your website of content that's not front and center of your homepage is a great idea. And that doesn't have to be as high quality as everywhere else. That can then build and get better and better over time, because that is good quality content that should be telling people good information, good quality information. And of course, then it's great for your SEO. It's good for everything else that Adam does that's going to help kind of get your website seen by the bots and everything else. But hopefully then when the human being arrives, it's good quality content that's going to keep people on the page longer and convert them into customers.
I just want to jump in with a couple of things. First of all, something I didn't say was, I think you're absolutely right, Paul. And something I didn't say, which Adam said very well, is, you don't have, no one has to win an award. I mean, Paul probably wants to win video awards, but most of us, we just have to be better than our competitors. And so it's really important to look at your competitors and see what the video standards are, because just matching or surpassing will, 80-20 principle, means that will be enough. You don't have to become a video god or a video expert to do good video for your marketplace, for your audience. So it's worth taking stock. And the second thing I was going to say was, when you were talking about drones, Adam, I know you've been around a drone or two in your life. I don't know if that's relevant here, but feel free to, what's your take on that? You're on mute, I'm afraid, would you believe?
Gosh.
Yeah, no.
I have a bit of drone experience. So yeah, I totally hear what Paul's saying. I used to fly drones for video production and photography, mostly for real estate. We did some commercial video stuff as well, and I was fortunate enough to do that in the Caribbean. But nowadays it's amazing with the first-person view, the FPV drones, and how commercially accessible they've become. So I would almost say that some inside drone shots can be absolutely spectacular, but most of them can probably be obtained through a handheld gimbal, so it's not necessarily the best way to do it, but they do look amazing. But there is definitely a disparity between the customer's appreciation for the technology and how it's applied and how it's used and what can be done versus the actual the way you can actually kind of add it into production. So but yeah, definitely does add a lot, but can be done quite cost effectively. I mean, drones are very affordable nowadays.
And I think we're maybe missing something here as well, that whilst we're talking a lot here about production value is only one element of creating a video and only one reason why you would create a video. The story that the video tells is the main reason why you'd have it. You want the production value to hook your viewer in, but then you want them to pay attention to what it is that you're telling them and what you want them to do by the time they finish watching the video. So the production value serves a purpose. But as you said, Al, if it's not doing what it's supposed to do, if it's too high value for its place or it's too low value for its place, then it's going to put people off and they're not going to watch it. It has to be right for the purpose, and then you want people to be paying attention to what it is that you're doing. So then the copy has to be correct, the style of the video for the copy has to be correct, and for the target audience. Everything else that the video is packaging has to then do its job to get people to do the thing that you want them to do, to do the call to action. if it doesn't do that, then it becomes a bit of a vanity project, and the production values are all wasted, and the budget's all wasted, and the time is all wasted. Because the point of a video should be that it's a lead generation tool.
It's a really interesting point, because it's really easy to get caught up in, well, what if we threw a drone shot in there? Wouldn't it look super cool? And it's kind of similar to websites. The first website I built a long time ago, it had every single type of web tech on it, which back in those days was things like visitor counters and newsletter, scrolling things, and animated GIFs, which were a new technology a long time ago. And I had to have everything on there, but it didn't serve any purpose to the user in terms of their journey through the website. So yeah, I totally agree. It makes a lot of sense that you have to focus on the goal of the video and what you're trying to achieve. We don't have Simon here today, and I feel remiss not to kind of try and represent the branding aspect as well. Videos surely also need to be on brand. So I'm sure there's an argument to say that, if you're a certain type of business, certain type of industry, and you have a certain brand look and feel, you have a certain avatar that you're communicating with, and all of your marketing, is consistent in that respect. The video has to also be consistent in that respect. So again, it could be easy to get distracted with, oh, we could do this, but is it focused on the goal, and is it on brand, and is it on message? And that's ultimately got to be, and that should hopefully keep things a little simpler for people, and help them avoid getting caught up in overwhelm and distractions like that.
Yeah, 100%. There's, I don't know if any of you have read the book, They Ask You Answer by Marcus Sheridan. I've only started reading it recently, and there was a statistic that jumped out at me within the first couple of chapters that said about a study that was done about what percentage of the decision was made before a potential client actually meets the company, so meets the salesperson or the receptionist or whatever. What percentage of the decision is made before they even meet us? So watching a video, going on the social, seeing the website, viewing the brand as a whole. And 70% of the decision is already made before they meet a representative from the company. That's up from 20% 20 years ago.
Wow.
So you can see how important getting the website right, getting the copy right, getting the brand right, and obviously in the last 20 years, as you said right at the beginning, our video has become a massive part of that marketing kind of cycle. Getting the video right and making sure that it fits in with all of the other things that you've just said, Adam, to make sure that it fits in. So making sure that everything that we've talked about so far with the video is working, that the style is right, that it fits with the brand, making sure that we're comfortable in front of the camera, all of that's going to be a big part of whether they actually make that decision to have that conversation with somebody within the company straight away.
It's fascinating, isn't it? 70%, of the decision is already made before they speak to you. I know that when I'm referred a client or a prospect, and I sit down and speak with them, there is a significant difference in the way that they speak to me versus a cold lead. They are they're pretty much already on board. I just have to not mess it up. And just get on with them and create a good impression and build a relationship, and we should be good to work together as long as there's a good fit. So there is an opportunity with marketing, with the web design, with getting the content right, the copy, the brand, and also the video content. They're all opportunities, and I think you are creating an impression. We don't know what research people are doing before they speak to us. We don't know who they're speaking to, whether or not they're browsing our website, whether they're looking at our social media. It's quite possible they are, and they're forming an opinion of us through those channels. There's a lot of speculation from the clients and prospects I speak to as to whether or not, a lot of these marketing channels and tools are of any value. Do they really move the needle? Do they really have an impact? Of course they do, massively. It might just be that individual's perception is, well, I don't necessarily read a person's website before talking to them, but maybe everybody else is. That's just one person's perspective. So yeah, we can't get it all right, can we? We can't make it all perfect. We can't have it all, high value, but we can certainly try and improve on them as we go, as we build out the marketing tools and we redesign the websites and we add more video. We can make it more and more professional and high quality,
and give ourselves more of a chance by using more of the tools available to us. It might only be that we've got a 50% chance of getting it if we're only using 50% of the tools towards that 70% decision.
Yeah. A client might say to me, how many people are actually turned off by the fact that I don't have a video, on my homepage? And it's very hard to tell them that. We can set up some rather complex metrics to kind of try and gauge that and get some data on it, but it's probably not cost effective. But the fact is, it's possible that people are, not interested in reading a lot of text or text-heavy websites. We retain a lot more of information from watching videos. So a short video on the homepage could potentially, be generating a significant more, higher number of leads than not having it there.
Yeah, I mean, there is a statistic out there about that 80% of people would rather watch a video than read a blog.
Well, it's much easier to absorb information that's being projected to me than information I have to read. It's much more passive. I can sit here and just pay attention. Whereas if I have to read something, I physically have to move my eye. It's more involved. And I think all of this comes down to your marketplace, doesn't it? Ultimately, it depends what everyone else is doing. I agree, Adam. You can't possibly. It's not possible to get 100 out of 100 or get even close to perfection, and that's part of the problem with video. And I wrote this down earlier, and I didn't get a chance to say it, but what I love about that practice methodology from Paul that resonated with you, Adam, is that it's forgiving from the start. You're going to be rubbish at this. The first time you do video, it's going to be pants. So take the pressure off yourself and just get used to the fact that by the 100th time you do it, it won't be, and it will be better. This is a discipline that requires work. I mean, it's like copywriting. It's like everything digital. It's like everything brand. And by the way, I forgot to say at the start, Simon sends his apologies. He is flued up, so he cannot be with us today. But, regardless of what it is, I think part of the problem with marketing, and there is a wider issue here, part of the problem with marketing, and certainly it's highlighted, spotlighted, exacerbated with video, is that marketing isn't something you can do without understanding stuff, without knowing how to do stuff. Lots of people think they're marketeers, and they're not. It's an unregulated industry, and I have to deal with this. And I know we've had conversations, Adam and Rachel. Everyone's a genius when it comes to marketing until they're not. And the reality is, it is a discipline. It is a skill set. Every specific part of marketing. What Rachel does, I can write, but I'm not a copywriter. I can, believe it or not, I can code in HTML. I'm not building any websites soon. It's not my bag. It's not my jam. It's not what my brain was built to do. And I can use a video camera. Everyone's a videographer and a photographer now because we've all got cameras and phones all the time. But they're not really. And that's the point. The only thing that works is work. The only thing that's going to get you better at marketing, never mind video or web or content or brand or creative or any of it, is either doing it yourself or working with people who know what they're doing. Sometimes doing it yourself is okay. Producing stuff for my LinkedIn video asset base is fine for me to do myself. But like Rachel said, if I launched a new site, if I was a law firm and I launched a new site and I wanted to make a big statement about how friendly we were, because that's who we are, and how communicative and how engaging we were, because not all law firms would take that tack, why wouldn't I have a really good bit of video on the front? And I think you've got to come at this from a strategic perspective and ask yourself, what's the market doing? Who's our audience and what do they expect? And what do we therefore need to do, especially in the silo of video? What do we need to do to move the dial with them, to move it from 70% to 80%? And that's the difference the referral makes. Any one of us can research, and we do. We research before the purchasing decision more now than ever. And that stat that you pointed out, Paul, supports that. And the reason for that is because we have access to information. When we go and buy a car, most of us know exactly what car, exactly what color, exactly what trim. We know everything. We don't need anything to be sold the car dealer is just there to upsell us and take our order, frankly. And that's if you even go into a car dealership, because most of us can do it online now. And so the reality is the difference the referral makes is that it stacks the deck because somebody's lowered the risk. The difference video makes is there's no hiding in video, even in well-produced, high production value video. It's me. Hi, I'm Al. It's nice to meet you. There's just something intrinsically personal about people looking into each other's eyes. And of course that resonates with the buyer, because people buy from people. So the most valuable medium we have at our disposal is video. One of the biggest challenges, of course, is everything we've discussed today. How do we get better at it? And sometimes we don't need to get better at it. Sometimes we just need to outsource it. And then it becomes a purchasing decision. And one of the biggest things I've heard over the last couple of days from people I've been speaking to is, the perception of cost around video, Paul. It is a discipline. It is a very specialized discipline within marketing, because you really need to know what you're doing to the nth degree around video. In the same way around web and copy, you can't just rock up and be a copywriter because you've got an English GCSE. You need to understand the mechanics of copy, understand the mechanics of who we speak, our audience, and how are we defining them. And so the deeper you look, the more intense it gets. And video as a market, because of our society, there's lots of people who might say they're videographers out there, but that doesn't mean they're good at producing marketing video. So how from a what do you say to people, Paul, when they say, oh no, I can't do video, it's too expensive? What's your standard? How do you cope with that as an objection? Because I hear that all the time around video. What do you?
I suppose it's the standard. It's too expensive question, isn't it? What are you basing that on? Is that based on a figure that you've plucked out of thin air, or out of real research? Because videos can be created for, it depends on who you're talking to, for a couple of £100. You can spend tens of hundreds of thousands on a marketing video. And it does depend on the agency that you go to. It does depend on where that agency is based. And it does depend on what it is that you want to have produced. If you're going for something fairly straightforward, it's not going to cost you a huge amount. And the benefit, the first benefit is it's going to take away all that time that we talked about earlier on. The second benefit is, if you're getting the right agency, and you really have to do your research here, they're going to know what they're doing. And it is going to give you a return on your investment. And the more they know what they're doing, the higher the return on investment that it's going to bring to you. Obviously, there's no point just having a video made and then having them hand it over to you and then expecting you to be able to do something with it. You do need to find an agency, or at least have a partnership with a web developer, so that at the end of it, you're not just left holding a video in your hands, not knowing what to do with it, because then it's going to probably sit on your website and gather dust. So you do have to then be able to use it as a lead generation tool. So you need to be able to understand how to use YouTube and meta tag it, and you do all the keywording and everything on YouTube. And you do need to understand how to use it as a lead generation tool with all your paid ads and on your website with all your SEO and all the rest of it. So there's a few things that you should be looking at when you're speaking to an agency to make sure that you are going to see that return on investment. But we know from all the stats, we know from all the jobs that we've done, that video is the single best return on investment that you can get for any one piece of marketing collateral, and it's evergreen. A piece of a pamphlet, for example, that you might have printed to go door to door, once you put it through the door, it's done. A piece of video content that sits on your homepage, you can have split up and put on social media. You can use it over and over again. It can be used in presentations. It can be used everywhere. It can be still used in 5, 6, 7, 8 years and years and years in advance. We've done work for clients 9 years ago. They still use our video. They still use the smaller segments out on their social media to drive people towards their website and other content. You can then, of course, use something like rev.com to transcribe it, which can then turn it into copy, which can then be put out into a blog. You can use it as a video blog. You can turn it into a podcast. There's so much that you can do with one single piece of video content. You can almost turn it into a whole year's worth of of marketing strategy from one video. So there's an awful lot that you can do with video if you decide to use the right agency to get that massive return on investment.
Paul, do you have any tips on choosing the right agency?
Good question.
Yeah, so ask somebody who's got a good video that you know to recommend somebody. That's always a good place to start, because they'll be able to tell you, well, did I get a good return for it? And if their answer's no, then don't use that video agency. And if their answer's maybe or yes, then that's a good place to start. And don't just pick the first one that you come across. Go and have a chat with a few of them. And there's a couple of questions that I'd ask. I'd ask a question about how they approach the storytelling element of the video, what their storytelling approach is. We've talked already about the fact that the production value doesn't need to be perfect. If they're a video agency worth their salt, their production value will be high. So you don't need to worry about that. Talk to them about their storytelling approach. Talk to them about their targeting approach when it comes to how they look to plan their video in terms of your target market, and then talk to them about what they do with the video when it's finished. And if they can't tell you very much about their storytelling approach, if they can't tell you about their target marketing approach, and if they can't tell you how they're then going to use it as a lead generation machine, then they're not a great video agency in terms of giving you a return on investment. They might be a good production house, but they're not an agency that I would rate particularly highly as a lead generating video agency.
That is a great question, Adam. And I was just about to ask Paul, surely, even if you don't think you can do video, even if whatever your objection to video, irrespective of why you're not doing it, you would be crazy to not get in touch with someone like Paul and say, look, I'm going to be working on marketing strategy, but I really want to push video. Can you give me an hour or two of your time so I can even understand what you think I should be doing on video? At least, and it may be chargeable time. I'm not saying all of a sudden hundreds of people should hit Paul for 3 hours. What I'm saying is, even if you spend a couple of £100 on an hour of Paul's time, but mapping out a bit of a video, even the top line of a video strategy. Because for me as a marketing strategist, if you came to me and said, right, I need to do marketing strategy work, and by the way, I really want to focus on video, and I've done a bit of work with this guy called Paul Furlong, and this is the top line of what we want to do with video. Well, you're streets ahead of your competitors, and you might just find the answer is very appealing, or you might find that what Paul tells you terrifies you and sounds unaffordable and unachievable. I'm sure it won't be that way because Paul's quite realistic. And if it's not Paul, find another expert in video. I mean, I'm not dictating you can only speak to Paul, but the reality is most people don't understand what's possible, and most people don't understand how easy it is to solve the problems that even seasoned marketing vets like me, Adam and Rachel have. And you saw how quickly Paul solved Adam's problem around, I've got to get better at marketing, creating videos for marketing. No, you don't. You just have to practice your video creation, because by the time you get to 100, it's all going to be better. That has probably moved Adam forward dramatically from just a mindset perspective around video. So if you're not even speaking to a videography agency, a video production agency that understand the connectivity into marketing strategy, into lead gen, how it's going to turn into a return on investment asset, then you're missing a trick. And the second thing I want to say is one of the biggest reasons video, in my experience, goes wrong is because people come at it from entirely the wrong perspective. They don't speak to somebody like Paul and think what's possible and what could I do with it. What they do is they're driven by ego, and it becomes a puff project because the MD wants to be a big shot and have video, and oh yeah, we're doing a video and it's going to sit on the website. They're just going to blame the marketing team when that video turns into nothing. So you've got to resist it being an ego-based project. It's got to be a revenue-generating project, and that's the point. I think if you do that, how could you possibly go wrong? And Paul, I'm presuming you wouldn't mind if lots of people got in touch and asked you those sorts of questions.
Be more than happy for that to happen.
I think that.
Yeah.
Sorry,
No,
I was
go
gonna,
ahead.
I have a bit of a question really, because we started talking about strategy, a video strategy. Where do you even begin with that? Because I think one of the common questions that that business owners will be asking is, what do I make videos about? We've talked a lot about how, you know, we should get on with it and it's, you know, just practice it. But where do we start in terms of finding the right content to talk about?
Start with the end in mind. So
Okay.
who's your target market? And then what do you want them to do when they've watched the videos? And then once you know that, where's it going to go? So where are their eyeballs? I think it's Gary Vaynerchuk that talks about that. So where are their eyeballs? So is it going to go on TikTok? Is it going to go on the homepage of your website? Is it going to be put on a paid Facebook campaign? And once you know that, then you can decide on the style of the video. So talking to that point, talking to Al's point just then as well, we had a client or a prospect called us in under false pretenses. I was told I was going to go in and talk to a small energy company. And so I'd prepped for the energy company, and I was greeted at reception by a lady, and she said, yeah, actually, we're not a small energy company. We're the second largest manufacturer of LED light bulbs in the world. And the whole board are here from Hong Kong.
Wow.
They're in the boardroom. Can you go in and meet them? So I walked in, 20 odd people in the boardroom, and the chairman of the board, JT, was there, ready to meet me, and everybody was on his word. So if he allowed them to speak, they could speak, and if he didn't let them speak, they didn't speak. So he welcomed me in, sat me down, told me that they wanted an animation with a little light bulb that did little dances, and that was what they wanted. And after 10 minutes of all of them getting really excited about what this little light bulb was going to do, I kind of found the nerve to interrupt him. And everybody, there was just silence as I did it. And he was like, okay, well, you've interrupted me. No one ever does that, but go ahead. I said, who's your target market? And again, there was silence. And for the next half an hour, they debated between them who their target market was.
Wow.
And I said, okay, I'm going to stop you there. How long are you in town for? They're in town for a couple of days. I said, we can't proceed until we know who your target market is. I'll come back tomorrow, but I'm going to leave you with a few questions. Who's your target market? What do you want them to do? Where are their eyeballs? Once you know that, we can proceed. So I went back in the next day, and they decided that their target market was warehouse managers or warehouse owners who would be able to obviously put the LED light bulbs in, save themselves a package on the energy bills in the warehouse. So I said to them, well, do you really think that a little cartoon light bulb is going to speak to them? And they said, no. Like, okay, so animation might not be what you want. So this is the ego thing that Al was talking about, just gone. What we decided on was that a little testimonial of a really gruff warehouse manager, and we went through a whole kind of target market exercise, just talking to camera saying, look, we changed out all our light bulbs for these LED ones and we've saved X amount a year, was all that they needed. We talked ourselves out of a couple of grand on the animation, by the way, just to do a testimonial film. But it worked. It damaged their ego a little bit because they wanted this all singing, all dancing animation. But actually, the return on investment was much higher than it would have been. And it worked really well. So starting there is the right place to start with any video. So we've talked about standing in front of the camera and doing all these videos for LinkedIn or TikTok or whatever. That might not be the right kind of video that you need for your company. It's never going to hurt, by the way, but the right kind of video might be an animation to sit on the homepage of your website, or it might be a TV advert that's going to go on targeted advertising on Sky AdSmart. It could be anything, but until you know your target market, what you want them to do at the end of it, where their eyeballs are, it's very difficult to make sure that you're doing the right kind of video with the right message.
I think a lot of us experience this in our different fields, don't we? Clients come to us with an idea of what they want to do, and that puts the vendor in a position of, well, we can certainly do that. We can achieve that for you, but in the back of your mind, if you're worth if you're kind of worth your salt, then you're kind of thinking, but surely the client's got an objective in mind that they want to achieve, and our work's going to be graded not on how amazing this animation is, because that's going to be part of it, but also on whether or not we achieve that objective, and is it suitable for that objective. So I think for anybody who's watching this, if you're considering hiring anybody in marketing or in general, going to them with an idea is fine, but ensuring that you're getting the advice from the vendor as to whether or not that will actually achieve the objective, and how the vendor might go about achieving that objective, and whether or not they have an alternative idea. It's worth keeping an open mind, because I think that's how the vendor can help the most.
It's interesting as well how, listening to all of this, and Adam, I totally agree with everything you've just said. Listening to what you were saying just then, Paul, it's amazing how similar this creating video is to copywriting. And I guess that's just because it's marketing, kind of bottom line marketing basics of, make sure it's for the right target market, make sure it's aimed at them, make sure it's the right tone of voice, and make sure it's not about yourself, make sure it's about the viewer, the end user. And I kind of sitting here thinking, well, I'm not really much of an expert on video, but actually I know all that. The principles are the same, right? It's just a different medium that you're sending the message through. So yeah, that's been a bit of an eye-opener for me. Like, I don't need to know how to make an incredibly high produced video. I can apply the skills that I already have to create video.
100%.
And I think that it's not just across content. I think a lot of the challenges that Paul would want to identify would sit well with Adam. Adam's not going to build a website if he doesn't know who the target audience is ever, because who are you building the web? Everything in marketing is led by a few core things. And obviously, from a strategic perspective, my view is if they don't know any of that, I might be of use. But if they know who their target is and they need to produce video, that's 90% of the problem solved, because at least they've got a target. If they don't know who their target is, if they don't know what their core message is, if they don't, if they don't have those fundamental building blocks, it doesn't matter what they do, it's going to fall over, and it's just going to be some ego project. Now, we are going to run out of time. The good news is Paul will be a regular. He'll be back in, I think, 3 months. And things we didn't talk about today that I definitely want to talk about them, especially from Adam's perspective, how we leverage assets, how we can leverage video assets, and from Rachel's perspective, how we can leverage content, and also how that taps into SEO. We didn't get anywhere near talking about video and how search work together, and how video and YouTube work together from an SEO perspective. So if you're watching this, please do make sure you go to www.marketingquickwins.com, sign up so you get the alerts, and you can find TepFu on YouTube as well. And we've got the entire collection and podcast there available for you. But sign up for the alerts, because that way you won't miss them. It has been a pleasure, Paul, picking your brains. Rachel, Adam, have you got a key takeaway? Anything that's just stood out for you more than anything else?
Practice, just practice. See it as a practice. See it, discipline and consistency. That's what's going to ultimately get you to being better at anything. And so I think for me, the takeaway is just practice, rather than focusing on how good it is or what it needs to be or what I want to get from it.
Amazing. Yeah. Rachel?
I'd say practice what I preach. So start applying everything that I tell or ask my clients to do to my own content, to my own video content, essentially, and practicing the thing about just when you're a child and you're trying to learn a musical instruments. I grew up learning the saxophone, and I didn't care how many times I squeaked or got the wrong note. But if you gave me a saxophone now, if I couldn't make it sound really, really good straight away, I'd probably get fed up and put it aside. That we lose that ability to fail as we get older, as we become adults. So I think open up that ability to do a crappy video and it not matter, and practice it until you are good at it.
Absolutely. I think my key takeaway would be, first of all, I agree around practice, but for me, it's around looking at your marketplace, seeing what other people are doing, trying to understand what your target wants and what would be acceptable, so that when you start to create video content, it's as powerful for you as possible. There's no point producing something below the standard of everybody else, but equally, there's no point going way past the standard for no reason logically from a business case perspective. Paul, final word to you before we say our goodbyes. Last thoughts. Is there anywhere people can go to find out more from you? Give us a plug for what you've got online that people can get to.
Yeah, sure. So thank you very much for having me. And you can find Opus Media at www.weareopusmedia.com. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can drop me an email, paul@weareopusmedia.com. And I do have a book, soon as I'm doing the shameless plugging bit. If you go to Amazon, you can find my book, Rule the World. And I can't remember the rest of the title because it's really long. But if you type in Rule the World, Paul Furlong, you'll find the book, and it's all around the storytelling element of what should be included in the video. Thank you, Al.
Amazing. Very well done, everyone. Adam, thank you for being here. Rachel, thank you for being here. Paul, thank you for being here. We'll see you all next month. We're going to be drilling in, and we're going to be speaking with Tommy Merchant Parish on testimonials, just about testimonials and the power of testimonials. So look forward to seeing you all then. Until then, au revoir.
Bye.